Ever wonder where to find color inspiration for your home? Look no further than the cinema and this episode. I'm going to clue you in. Hi, I'm Marina Coates. Welcome to Cinematically Inspired Design. Today's episode is part 2 on color in the cinema. We're going to start with a segment showing you how to create the mood you want in your home, with the emphasis on color this time, by seeing the process they use in the cinema and then translating that into our homes. Watch this. Did you know that before any good movie starts filming, the production designer actually draws up something called storyboards that show all of the critical scenes in the movie? They kind of look like a comic strip, but they don't just stage the scenes, they help set the mood of the film. They give the movie its distinct look and feel, and of course color has a big part to do with that. For Gone with the Wind, they actually made 1,500 watercolors beforehand, and you can see in the final result when we actually watch the movie that those paintings actually really helped set the tone for that movie. Look at side-by-sides of the paintings next to similar scenes in the film. They have the same feel to them, don't they? The man responsible for this, William Cameron Menzies, actually won an Academy Award for, quote, "outstanding achievement in the use of color for the enhancement of dramatic mood." The use of color in your own home can be one of your greatest tools to enhance the mood you want there too, just like in the movies. Now look at the storyboard for the movie West Side Story. Look at the rich colors used with an emphasis on reds and blues, and then let's look at the finished product that we were shown on the screen. There's such a similar tone there, isn't there, from the storyboard to the end result. You can tell the scenes originated from the earlier sketches, and color played a huge role. Now let's shift gears to a completely different type of story, The Sound of Music. Look at one of the storyboards from this movie. So instead of vibrant colors like we saw before, we're seeing a soft color palette. We see pale greens, soft golds, and some mushroomy colors. Now look at some stills from this motion picture. The original storyboard plays out here in these scenes, doesn't it? And that helps set the tone for the entire film. When done right, production design enhances rather than overpowers a film. It puts a magnifying glass on the characters rather than on the design. Listen to these quotes coming up. They're from production designers and set decorators, and what they were asked was to give their criteria of what constitutes good production design. And as you listen to them, what I want you to do is think how all of this can apply to your home. The look of the film and how it fits the whole movie is very important. It can't just be standing out on its own. I think for me there's always a moment where it crystallizes, and I'm watching something and I'm thinking, this is really incredibly done. It's often not because the production is sumptuous or rich in period detail, but rather that everything just feels right. What the set decorator does is just be there for the story, to support the actors, to support the storyline, to support the characters in whatever way it needs to, but never overpower them. If it moves you, if you believe it, if it serves the story and the character, then you get me. What are some of the takeaways here for us for design in our own homes? It should move you, be believable, serve the story and the family, meaning your family, and not overpower it. Be cohesive. All the parts need to fit well into the whole. And in the end, it just needs to feel right. And that's actually the most important thing of all. Good design in our homes really all comes down to telling a story, our story. And I hope you're starting to see that. And everybody has a story. So what's yours? What's your history? Did you grow up in the Midwest and now you're firmly planted in LA? Did you start out in academics and now you're an artist? Everybody has their own unique story, so why borrow someone else's? And it's just like that in the cinema. You wouldn't take Maria from The Sound of Music and put her in Holly Golightly's apartment from Breakfast at Tiffany's, would you? It just wouldn't feel right. You should feel comfortable in your home. It should fit you like a glove. Have you ever walked into someone else's home, a beautiful home even, and thought, this just isn't me? I couldn't live here, even when it's a really cool home. The reason is because that's not you. That's not who you are. That's who they are. Well, do you know how the production designer starts the process? They read the book, the script. They get to know those characters and the tone of the story, the mood there, intimately, long before they start a storyboard, and certainly long before they start filming. Do you see where I'm headed with this? You can be your own production designer, art director, set decorator for your own home. And do you know why? Because you know your story better than anybody else. When this approach is taken, everybody's homes will look different. No more cookie cutter houses, no more following trends. So how do you go about that? How do you get started? Well, in an upcoming episode, I'm going to go into a lot more detail and we'll learn how to create our own storyboard, our own mood board, because there's actually enough there to be its whole own episode. Today, we're just going to focus on one very important element of that, which is using color to create a mood. Let's begin. You've seen the storyboards now, and so you know a little of the time involved and how much they influenced the film. Listen to this quote from Luciana Arrighi, a production designer who made watercolors of the scenes in Howard's End. I do my research, and then I color and conceptualize the film, the mood, and the colors, and run through most of the scenes working with the script. So there's a lot of time and effort put into the design of a movie, even down to the colors, to get the mood right. Why then wouldn't we borrow from their expertise and look to the cinema for color inspiration for our own homes? Here I've taken stills from different movies and pulled some of the colors out for you on the side. If you have movie homes that really resonate with you, the color palette is more than likely a part of that. Why not use that for design inspiration in your own home to get the same feeling or mood that you get from the movie home? After all, they've already done all the work for us. I found an account on Instagram called Film and Color, where they do this exact thing. They take scenes from movies and pull the colors out. I'll put the link below. It might save you some time, and it's just fun to look through. Now I'm going to show you some different scenes from the cinema, and I'm going to give you some of the adjectives that come to my mind to describe the mood or feeling in each room. But I want you to be thinking about what it feels like to you too. Message in a bottle. I would describe it as warm, outdoorsy, and masculine. Howard's End. Opulent, cozy, old money. Send me no flowers. Traditional, casual elegance, light, cheery. The Devil Wears Prada. No nonsense, devoid of warmth, meticulous, cold. Miranda Priestley's not going to have a lot of wood and warm tones in her office, is she? It just wouldn't fit her character. To Catch a Thief. Dramatic, classic, intriguing. A bit of old world charm. And the other colors they added are fun, rich, and vibrant. A lot of this has to do with the furniture, the decor, and other details in the room, but we'll go over those things in other episodes. Today we're focusing on color and how it sets the mood. I want to show you something. Look at this room from the original Parent Trap. I'm going to just change the colors of some of the main pieces in the room. Everything else will remain exactly the same items in the room, sitting just where they were, but only the colors are going to change. Well, what do you notice? Do you see a shift in the mood of the room? Does it feel a bit like a different room? Color does make a difference. It's not just all the other things in the room going on. Color matters. It plays a big role in determining the mood and feel of a room. Now look at these scenes from the movie Giant. Initially we're shown the home in mostly varying shades of brown and rusty reds. Well, that's when it was inhabited by a bachelor, Bick. It has a definitive, rugged, masculine, remote feeling to it. When we fast forward years later after Leslie, his wife, has had some influence, we see the same rooms, but it now has a more refined, elegant feel, and a lot has to do with the light colors. Now I'm going to take one of the movies that we just discussed and use it as inspiration for a kitchen transformation. As soon as Cary Grant's character walked into this restaurant, I fell in love with it, and I actually started daydreaming about how I could use what I see here as inspiration for a kitchen. Let me tell you some of the things that stood out for me. When he first starts walking in, there's the stucco plaster on the outside. There's that green shutter on the left. Those caught my eye. But then as he enters, you begin to see all of the black wood framed doors and windows. That's what I would describe as traditional and classic, but also dramatic. How would that look in a kitchen? Notice in the background of this picture you see fruit. So you see throughout this whole scene, you're going to see not just all the black, because that would get overpowering, but you begin to see the colors red, yellow, orange, and green. They show up over and over again in fruit and other ways. Even the red bandana he's wearing around his neck. So I thought those would play in nicely in a kitchen. And especially, it seems like most of the time that we're seeing those vibrant colors, it's through a window or through glass. So I wanted to incorporate that in my room transformation. Now he's inside of the office of the restaurant. And you'll see, of course, all of that dark, almost black wood all around. And then that lamp on the table was striking to me, the deep green banker's lamp, but if you'll notice in the stem of the lamp, there's a much lighter green on there, and you don't usually see that. I found it intriguing and different, unique. So look for that color to show up later in the kitchen transformation. As he looks through the office windows, he's looking down into the kitchen. And some things I loved about that was the arched window that you see in the background with the thick molding. And I loved the tile on the wall. So there's stucco above it, but the green tile below is this creamy green. And I thought it played so well with the black, all the black that you see all around. And then we see a cream colored floor. This helped keep it from being too dark, that you brought in that light floor, as you see in there, the marble colored floor with the black squares, and then also the stucco, the light green tile. If you'll notice the cabinets back there, they're all very light wood. So if all of that was black too, it might be too much, but it was the two playing off of each other that was inspiring me. You'll see a lot of this play in as inspiration in the final transformation. In this shot of the kitchen, we see copper pans up against the green tile, and it goes so well together. All right, let's look at the transformation now. Here's the kitchen before, and here it is after. Another before, different view, and that same view of the kitchen after the transformation. Let's look at some of the influences seen from the movie showing up in my remodel. You'll see the old plaster look showing up on the walls in the kitchen. The creamy floor with striations in it, similar to the floors in the movie, just missing the black squares. I felt it would be too busy here. I brought in red, which was one of the prominent colors in the movie set. Here you see it on the bench in the mudroom. I used an oriental rug pattern type of material to give a hint of old world charm. And I brought in yellow and fresh flowers on the counter. Now we see the light cabinet bases mimicking a similar look in the kitchen of the restaurant. Copper was brought in, but instead of as pans, it was brought in as shelving and the island countertop. And there's that translucent apple green color on the glass jug in the opening shelving, reminiscent of the stem of the banker's lamp in the office of the restaurant. Here you can get a peek of the arched window in the butler's pantry, complete with thick molding. Along with that, we see the creamy green tiles with stucco above. I'll have a link for the tiles below. We also see more red brought in the little metal stool, which seems to harken back to an older time. And another thing I want to draw your attention to is that we are seeing through the shelving to the room beyond, just like in the movie, and seeing some of the more vibrant colors back there. And of course, we see all of the black wood framing the doorways and the side lights. By the way, in case you're wondering, I didn't add any square feet to this remodel. It was the same footprint. You can see how I brought elements from my inspiration clips of the movie into this kitchen. You'll notice that I didn't duplicate the restaurant, but rather I brought the basic elements in that gave me that feeling that the restaurant in the movie gave me. If I was standing in this kitchen, I would be reminded of the mood those scenes from the movie gave me. Well, that was this week's room transformation I had fun using To Catch a Thief to inspire it. Of course, the whole point here is that you can do the same thing with your home. If you're looking for design inspiration and in particular colors, you can find movie homes that you fall in love with, like I did with that scene from To Catch a Thief, and then analyze it, see what different parts of it give you the feelings that you have when you watch the movie, and then see how you can take those elements and implement them in your own home design. It's time for viewer questions. This week's question comes from a follower on my Facebook page. She writes, "How do you decorate each room individually but come together with all the rooms nicely?" And I would imagine that's a question a lot of you have, and there are answers, and one of them is coming up next. Watch. This was a concept taught years ago by Lynette Jennings on her show Homeworks. This is how it works. I'm going to demonstrate it using, surprise, a home from the movies. This was Rock Hudson's bachelor apartment on Pillow Talk. This is an image of his living room. I've pulled out the main colors for you, and I've put them in order according to their prominence in the room. The color we see the most is the taupey mushroom color, then an orangey red and blue, and finally some gold. The gold's mostly on the books and in a painting. Now let's move over to the other side of the room. Here we see now that the rusty red is the most prominent color, followed by the caramel color in the wood screen, that's a new color, then some bright red and a little green and blue. So a couple of the colors transferred over, but some were left out and new ones were added. This keeps the rooms coordinating and yet having a different flavor. These rooms were side by side in his apartment in the movie, so the color scheme was kept very similar. Now let's move to his bedroom. Things have switched up a bit. The mushroom color is the most noticeable here, with the bright red coming back in as a second player, but now there are two new colors, robin's egg blue and gray. It all works with the other rooms and yet doesn't feel like a replica. And now we get a peek into the bathroom. The taupe color is strong again, but now we see the gold brought in as a major player in the gold leafing on the wallpaper. The undertone of the wallpaper introduces green, and another color, a new color, playing a minor role, brown. We see it in the bathroom towels. Since we've learned about how storyboards are made for movies early on and that they set the palette for the movie, you won't be surprised at this next image. This is a restaurant they visit during the movie. Notice the colors taking place here. Taupe is the #1 color seen here, followed by rusty red, robin's egg blue, and look at that gold leafing on the wall. They all come along for the ride over to the restaurant. Coincidence? I don't think so. At one point in the movie, they take a little getaway to a cabin, and would you look at that? Some of those same colors are showing up again, but in different combinations and amounts. We see a tan introduced, but here's that rusty red again, and on the other side of the room, tan, rusty red, and that stone gray color from his bedroom. These color schemes, although not in his apartment, would have served their purpose well there. In other rooms it would have worked. How can you use this method in your own home? First of all, I want to let you know that you don't need to hold so tightly to the assortment of range of colors shown in these examples from Pillow Talk. I used a bit of an extreme example just to demonstrate the principle. You'll probably want to play around with this concept much more loosely. But let's look at how this might work in your home. Here you have your kitchen, living room, and bedroom, and the color palette from Pillow Talk below. What are some different ways you could play your hand in each room? I'm going to put some of the colors in each of the rooms. Notice they're in different amounts and varying combinations. Now I'm going to add a little surprise color in each room for fun to shake it up a little bit, give it a little spice. If you look at this last diagram, you'll see which colors carry over to the next room. And there's only 2 from each room, allowing for quite a change in color scheme for each room and yet having all of them coordinate. But again, emphasis, have fun with it. Don't be too predictable. Add colors not expected and don't overthink it. To recap, in today's episode, we learned the process used in the cinema that creates the homes we love, how they use color to create a mood, and how to use their expertise to create the mood we want in our homes. This is my tip of the week for you. This is for those of you picking out a paint color to paint a room in your house, and you want to make sure it ends up looking the way you think it's going to once you get it on the wall. This was taught by Lynette Jennings again on homework years ago. She taught that you get a large piece of poster board, big enough that you really get a feel for what it'll look like. Paint it the color you're picturing for that room, but then here's the key. She said to put it on each of the walls in that room and check on it different times of the day with different lighting, because it will change a lot. And that way you'll be sure you'll like it. It won't be, loved it in the morning, not so sure at nighttime, right? Great tip she had. But recently on Instagram, I came across a new product called Sample-Eyes. And what it is peel and stick paint colors, and they come in big 1x1 and 2x2 samples that you can put on the wall, and it's just like it sounds like. You can then peel it off and go stick it on another wall. And they even mention in the little video that came with it that you can see the texture through it. So if you have, it's that thin. If you have an orange peel texture, you'll be able to read what it will look like if you actually paint the wall that color. I just think it's a great idea. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to next time I paint. I'll put a link below that'll take you there. Again, it's called Sample-Eyes. And I'm not getting paid for this, I just think it's a great idea. It's chocolate time again. I'm highlighting the chocolate of the week, and this week it is Godiva again, but this time it is the one called Strawberry Cream Torte. So it's kind of, on the inside it's kind of like cheesecake with strawberry, but here's the kicker. The strawberry part is like a reduction or something because it's so strong, it's so powerful, it's just perfect. Not too sweet, again, not too sweet. It's divine. If you like what you're hearing and you don't want to miss an episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to see the next episode or other episodes, click on the little eye up in the corner and it'll take you there. On our next episode, we're going to be exploring the unique ways that the cinema uses space in a home and how you can bring that same element into your own home. You can find me on my website, mockingbirdlane.design, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'll post those in the links below. But for now, that's a wrap. See you next time on Cinematically Inspired Design.